What's up, everyone? This is Sportsman17. Today I'm talking about something that usually Jazz fans are starting to wonder around this time of year. It's the trade deadline. There are three key players I want to talk about today, that being John Collins, Collin Sexton, and Walker Kessler. First, I'm going to talk about Walker Kessler. I think that there's a lot of these trade rumors going around Twitter and stuff about Lakers trying to get Kessler, Well, that's pretty much shut down. If you just look on any site, there's reports that the Jazz don't want to trade him. So Walker Kessler is definitely safe, especially after he has been averaging a double-double this year. I think he's averaging 11 points, 10 rebounds, and he's looked awesome, especially against the Hawks the other night. It was great. Another guy I want to talk about who I think is the most realistic person to be traded could be John Collins. John Collins this year is averaging 17.9 points per game, 8.3 rebounds, 2.5 assists, and 52.5% field goal shooting, which is way better than what we saw last year with him. And I think that he does have the $26 million contract this year and next year. Next year is a player option, which I believe he should, if he's smart, opt into. So next year is his last year on the contract, and I think it is pretty. I think that it's good if Danny Ainge is looking for someone to trade for John Collins, because he has one more year left on his contract. He could opt out, which I don't think he will, but could be smart for him to do that. And he's also improved a lot this year than last year. So I do think that John Collins, what I think, which I am no expert in anything, I just have a YouTube channel where I like talking about the Jazz. I think John Collins will be traded. I think it would be smart if we did trade him. I know he's 25, but the inconsistency of what we saw last year, I know he's been pretty consistent this year. And always remember, guys, Lauri Markkanen cannot be traded. Trade deadline is February 6th, and he signed his contract August 6th. August 7th, and you can't get traded 6 months after signing a contract. Another person who I think could be good for the trade market with what his value is right now is Collin Sexton. Collin Sexton is averaging about 17 points per game as well. I think that he could be another person that we could potentially get a first-round pick for, and that first-round picks are just the name of the game in Danny Ainge's mind. I am okay if we trade Collin Sexton. I'm okay if we trade John Collins. I don't think they're too crazy. They would be too crazy on a championship team. Maybe Collin Sexton coming off the bench as a six-man could be really good. I'm glad that the Jazz aren't looking to trade Walker Kessler, because I think that'd be incredibly foolish to trade Walker Kessler, especially the way that he's playing right now in his third year. It's almost like he went to some basketball boot camp over the summer and just completely improved on what he did last year. Every trade deadline the past 2 years, the Jazz were winning in January. Trade deadline completely just lost games in February and March. We're not sure what happens on that. We're sure what will happen on that. Jazz will probably lose a lot of games in February and a lot of games in March, because we're the fifth worst team, and I'm sure Danny Ainge wants to be one of the top three worst teams. I'm with a lot of you. Not the biggest fan of tanking. I understand why they do that, and I think a big part of it is because the NBA is kind of messed up right now, and the NBA needs to improve on some things. I still am a big NBA guy. Tonight I saw that there was a Kansas Jayhawks game versus the Iowa State, and there was a San Antonio Spurs versus Milwaukee, and I lived in Kansas, and I was like, oh, maybe I'll watch a Kansas game. And then I saw there's an NBA game. I was like, no, I'm just an NBA guy. I like watching these guys play, even if it can be lame at some points when they shoot 73 pointers in one night and miss most of them, which happened in a game. I think it was a Charlotte game. I'm hopeful of NBA. I'm hopeful that they will fix some of the problems that are occurring. I've almost completely forgotten that there is an NFL season, American football. Maybe I'll watch the playoffs, but if there's a Jazz game, I'm watching the Jazz game, because I want to support my team. Today in class, I actually told someone someone was like, oh, you make YouTube videos on what? I was like, oh, the Utah Jazz. And he was like, oh, I'm sorry. And I was like, hey, man, I literally grew up in Utah. I'm from Utah. I'm going to cheer for my team that I grew up with. That's just kind of my response when people like, oh, you're a Jazz fan? I'm like, yeah, I'm a Jazz fan. I grew up in northern Utah. I grew up going to the games and cheering on my local team. I'm not going to go and cheer for the Lakers. not going to cheer for the Bulls. I'm not going to. Well, the Bulls haven't been good since Michael Jordan. I'm a big Jazz fan. And a big Lauri fan. I'm really happy Lauri is happy here in Utah. And I know Sexton has said that he likes Utah a lot too. I'm very happy that he's grown to like Utah. It seems like a lot of these NBA players get traded to Utah or get drafted by Utah, and then they fall in love with Utah. I really hope that we get to see more Lauri Markkanen 35-point games. On the trends of the past 2 seasons, after the All-Star break, it seems like Lauri Markkanen doesn't play as much. So let's get in as much Lauri Markkanen as we can, because there is still potential over the summer that he can be traded once July hits, when the trades can happen, because that 6-month gap will be there. But I think that we'll be with Lauri for a couple more years. That's my hope. We'll see if we get Cooper Flagg, Ace Bailey, or there's a lot the Jazz can do. There's a lot they can do with trades. There's a lot they can do with drafting. We got 3 draft picks again this year. We got the Timberwolves, who could potentially be a lottery pick. Lauri Markkanen's gone 8 years without being in the playoffs. It'll be fun to see him in the playoffs. Jazz play the Heat tonight. Hope everyone can watch that. If it's a good game, I'll make a video on it. I'm trying to make more videos. I'm trying to get more involved with other Jazz fans. I like seeing the comments, especially you guys from Finland. You guys from Finland are great at commenting. So, anyways, Sports Spence 17. Let's go Jazz.